Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. I needed to make sure something was thrown away. You know how it is. Silly little things. Haha, I made myself tea earlier. She's keeping us hostage in the interest screen. No, I'm not. I just needed to check something. Rogue, I saw that you donated $5. Thank you so much. Let me go screech to the screen so I can properly thank you. I gotta change the stupid hotkey from being the nerdy mode. Good morning everyone. Good morning. Hello. Whoopaba. Whoopa. Oh, what does whoopa mean again? Hold on, I'm becoming old. Let me guess. Whoopa. What? Welcome back. It means welcome back. You told me this before. Also, my model is lagging. I don't know why. Why is my model lagging? I think my internet might still be troublesome. You did it! Thank you so much, Rogue. No need to thank me, citizen. Just doing my job. You're so silly, Rogue. I love that. My goodness. Shout out to the elf champ for the day, Outlawed Max. Meow. Thank you, ladies, for that redeem. Have some money to pay for shit. Thank you, Rogue. You're so nice. Hello, everyone. I still need to finish smiling, friends. Oh my god. Oh god, when is the new season coming out? Or is there gonna be any more seasons? Maybe not. Anyways, and I took longer with my message this time. Oh, that's true. I always tell you guys that if you want a funny, witty message, make sure you guys copy and paste beforehand, please. I gave y'all a chance. You guys are so silly with Pog Champs of the Day. It's so funny. Morning. Hello, Nayu. How are you doing today? I still think of how funny it was yesterday, how you were like, would you let me download it? Would you download an EXE for me? And I was like, sure, why not? Maybe. And you were like, wrong answer. No one should ever let you download something from them. And I went, well, what's the likelihood that you would know anything about EXE programs? And then you went, that's my job. And I was like, shit. Damn. Meow. How was I supposed to know that? You're like the 0.001% of viewer chances that I had. I always joke that, like, at least one of you guys is a murderer, a serial killer, a stalker, can do some crazy shit to find my location. But now I know that's not true. It's 0%. It'll be a flat 0% for a while. Internet dying already? It's gonna last till Silent Hill is finished. Oh no. I'm sorry, Pythagorean. We're still taking a break today because Nayu recommended to me this cool game, which I was gonna play last night, but then we got distracted by the Balacho cool thing, which we're not gonna play Balacho on stream until I got the idea rolling about this cool RP idea I had for it. I still need to figure out if there's a way for viewers to control the deck. No, not if you're dead. Sorry, that's dark. That's funny, Rogue. My spirit would claim it for me. You're so silly, Max. I love that. The only one to kill Max is me. Back off. I love that, AK. You're insane. I know. I'm a little weird for reading chat, even though messages are supposed to be for other people. Doxing VTubers, my ass. Yeah, I don't even need you guys to do that for me. I do that myself. Oh god. You should know everything, Avi. All these youngsters have internet all the time. Yeah, sure, but I mean, just because I have internet all the time doesn't mean I have all the knowledge. I mean, I do. I have the potential to know everything. But do I? Yes. I'm the first to, but stalking is not on my resume. So you're a serial killer and a psychopath? You're born with your phones in your heads, and you should absorb the knowledge from your phones to your brains directly. Yeah, do you want to know the fun knowledge I get from my phone? It goes, hey kids, this is, Minecraft YouTuber. Actually, I didn't watch Minecraft YouTubers. I didn't watch Minecraft YouTubers back in the day. I just didn't. I just watched, not even Markiplier. I only watched his Five Nights at Freddy's series, because it was popping off. I watched PewDiePie and Couch Up. Oh god. Good morning. Control this deck, pants. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you so hard. Good morning, Avi. 2 p.m. I got my replacement monitor today, so now I can see your pores. Typo spotted, idiot. Just kidding. Nobody knows nothing these days. Yeah, it feels like the more information we have, the less we know. And funny enough, that's also a reference to Metal Gear Solid 2's message overall. I love Metal Gear Solid 2. What are you talking about? Chat is meant to interact with the streamer. For Pete's sake, we forfeit our brain cells to make your life weirder. That's true. I feel like every time you come here, you guys get a little bit dumber and dumber. Hey, you said murderer, not psychopath, you meanie. Sorry, I forgot what I said, and I was like, I'm gonna assume I said psychopath, but I guess I said murderer. Obvious fun knowledge is Fujo content. It's true. It's true. I need a rewatch. Okay. I don't know about you old heads. It might not even be an old head thing. How many of you guys have heard of Junjo Romantica? Just wondering. Just curious about it, you know? Just if you guys don't know about it, that's okay. And you're better for that. It's not a typo, I just didn't know how to spell it at all. You tried. I was gonna say, me when I ride my bike, I'm gonna cycle the path. I like making that joke, cycle path. I don't know why, it's so funny. It can't be pores. Pores? Yeah, the last one. It's the last one. Take your pills, there's too many chatters around. Are you jealous, Pythagorean? Pill check. Actually, let me go check if my refill is due soon, because let me just say that I forgot to take at least 3 days of pills. So I have a couple left over until that, so it'll last me until I get my refill done. Let me just check. What pharmacy do you guys have? CVS is like a franchise, right? Everyone has CVS, right? We're here for more other options. Your cart is empty. No, I don't want to buy anything. My vaccines are here. Just triple up. The body can't tell the difference. Hello, Stephen. Yes, I am taking medication now. I have gone through the VTuber path. Just doing a little silly. Yeah, CVS is all over. Okay, got you. Sometimes I'm an idiot and I'm just like, which one is a local franchise and which one is all over America? Like, there's some things. One time I did reveal a location, but I don't think anyone Googled it because it was so simple. Anyways, yeah, okay. Tuber is dead. I have to look at my CVS subscription, prescription. CVS and Walgreens are right across from each other. I've got options. Oh, fuck yeah. Actually, I don't know if I have a Walgreens. Do you guys have Albertsons? I think I do have an Aldi's, actually. I think that's a British thing, but I have it here. We got a CVS. Got you. She's popping them like Tic Tacs. Oh god, I need to water them down, and the only thing I have is hot sauce on my table. Don't ask why I have hot sauce on my table, but I do. Let me go hydrate. Local medical university pharmacy. My mom works there, so she gets a huge discount for healthcare there. Wait, that's actually awesome. I love that for you. Let me go eat. Ew, that pill was nasty. What was I saying? Oh yeah, drugs. I'm officially a VTuber now. How many VTubers are medicated? And how many are unmedicated? And how many are just normal brain? How many are doing lines in the bathroom? How many do coke as their medication? Drugs! Oh my god. Wait, what if we make that an actual thing? Gee, like an actual alert. She took the real special pill. Now the fun can begin. No, it's still got a couple of hours to set in. And besides, I forgot to take it at 8. So I had a headache until I took them right now. Gotta take a special brain to be a VTuber, right? You're so right, Chief. You're so right. And it's so awesome. I know Barry is medicated. Is she medicated? Or is it something related to, like, the, other stuff? Or you're just pulling my leg and she's doing, like, painkillers or something. Drogas. We love drogas in the community. More pills won't get rid of me. More pills won't get rid of me. I'm already the result of Kelby's ketamine addiction. What is ketamine, actually? Hold on, let me look on Tumblr. On Tumblr a long time ago, I saw a website that they linked to educate. Oh god, do I want to talk about. Is drugs TOS? Twitch is drugs TOS. This is the second time we've talked about drugs on stream. Being intoxicated to the point of being incapacitated or no longer being in control of stream. Drunk driving, use of illegal drugs, and misuse of prescription drugs is still prohibited. Oh, that's funny. So I can't misuse my prescribed drugs on stream. Shit. So that means legally, if I forgot that I already took a pill right now, and then I take a second one, you guys can report me. It's legal. Or it's illegal. You guys can do that. I'll be like, shit, did I take it already? Horse tranquilizer. Oh, the good stuff. Good morning. Hope you're doing well, gamer. Thank you. Hello. I'm so sorry you stumbled onto this conversation. We need to do the tier list to make everything finalized. Oh, God. You know everything is always a bad decision when there's a tier list on it. It's the opposite of Keta Nice. I love that Hopper Keta meme. It makes the wolves inside me angry. And I'm still bad at gaming either way. Legally, you can take opioids on stream if they're prescribed. Yeah, and you'd have to come back from like really painful surgery for that. Avi, you haven't taken your pills yet, I swear. Okay, Pythagorean. First you were all like, never take those pills, queen. You're perfect the way you are. And now it's, Avi, I think you should take another one. I mean, you never took the first one. Haha. JK. Silence, TOS. And a real alcoholic is streaming. You love that meme so much, and that makes me so happy. Ooh, someone asked about the rule on psychedelics. That's funny as fuck. Avi, hold on. What is the drug tier list? When I have tried all of them. Aren't ADHD meds opioids also? Lots of us be on drugs then. Well, is it? I thought it was meth. Or close to meth. A cousin of meth, if you will. It has a similar chemical to meth, but it's not meth? I don't know. There's like a weird thing about it. Let me mute it. Sorry, that was my Discord. My bad. I never said you were perfect. I will be perfect. What is that? What does that look up? I thought ADHD meds were meth. I think some of them are. Oh my god, even better! Legal meth on stream, let's go! My cousin is meth. It's something to do with like, hold on. Are ADHD meds meth? I don't have ADHD. I have antidepressant meds. And it was really funny because when I came to the psychiatrist, her computer wasn't working. She brought her laptop, and I'm assuming she was either double monitoring that shit, which was really cool. But I guess something was happening with a computer, with a big monitor. And so she was like, okay, tell me what you're in here for again. My stuff isn't working. And I was like, shit. Meth is an amphetamine, and Adderall is an amphetamine, but they are not the same chemical. Yeah, they're not the same chemical, but they're like something. There's something else. Look, this is it. Is there any scientists in the club right now? This is not the club, but you know what I mean. Let me take out my nerd glasses. Oh fuck. The molecular shape is similar. It is. Hold on. Let me. I have it pulled up on stream. Hold on. Or I have it pulled up on my browser. Oh, there you go. That's why it was acting funky. And let me turn on my nerd glasses. Mother, I'm not asking for meth from my doctor. I am trying to treat my ADHD. Do not look up how similar the chemicals look, but they do have a similar structure. There's CH2. There's this cool little web. Anyone that has organic chemistry right now? Beat them up. Devil monitoring like a VTuber. Great shrink. Oh my god. Are you accusing my psychiatrist of being a VTuber? That's funny as fuck that she would stream in her office. But yeah, the molecular shape is similar. Oh, hello, Otto!
Automactic just subscribed for 8 months. Sup, nerd.
Hello, Otto. It's nice to see you. Today we're talking about the... Sup, nerd. Welcome. We're talking about the chemical structure of these things. I don't know what the fuck this is. Something to do with organic chemistry, but they have a really funny shape, and there's like a little thing. It's simple. One of them doesn't contain fart. What does that even mean? The only difference between water and hydrogen peroxide is a single oxygen atom. H2O and hydrogen peroxide chemical. Is this true? Okay, Google, thanks. Okay, Google, this is really useful. They really, like, showed me this image and expect me to just know what it means. Call me Freddy Fazbear the way I sorry, this is my joke. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm taking off the nerd glasses. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. You were gonna make the same joke? Okay, I feel better now. I'm sorry for being a zoomer, everyone. No, don't leave. Stop leaving. Is that a 7-Eleven? Oh my god. That's such a funny detail. Anyways, I'm sorry. Don't forgive me. Hold on. Okay, so H2O versus H2O2. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh my god, you're right. Hold on. There it is. There it is. So there's H2O, which has a 104.45 degree over here, and these two have a 97 degree. Why is this important? I don't fucking know, dude. I'll be the type of diva to order a 6-piece nugget. Oh god, I haven't ordered a nugget in so long. Actually, that's a lie. The last time I did was a spicy chicken nugget. I think I made a comment about that yesterday. But I didn't know that it was only seasonal. So I came in the next week to get more with my brother, and it was gone. I was terrible at chem, so this stuff is still frying my brain. Yeah, no, dude. I studied so much in freaking AP chemistry, only to land with a B at the end of the semester, and then my friend talked me out of continuing it for the next semester. He looked at me, he's like, Avi, we are studying so hard for AP Chem. Why are we doing this? Avi, I appreciate you, we study a lot together, but we're not doing this shit. And I was like, okay, fine. So we both dipped the class, and I was just like, wait, how did I dip? No, it was honors chemistry? And then the next semester would be AP Chem? Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah. How did they calculate the degrees, bro? Yeah, I don't know how chemistry works. So looking at this, I'm just like, wow. This is a whole other world I don't know anything about. It really makes you think, huh? Okay, so this is H2O, and this is HO, and then an H. Hold on. I was, blah, 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 blah. Don't worry, I think that was comedy gold. What does that say about us pairs? There's little difference between the chemical made of styrofoam and cinnamon. Oh, are you talking about Nile Red? Because he does some crazy shit like that all the time. He's like, I made paint thinner into cherry soda or cherry something. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Good for him, though. Good for him, I think. What in the skibidi did she just say? Don't worry about it. Hold on, there it is. It's him. It's him. Nile Red, my beloved. I used to watch his shit, like, in the middle of the night. I'd be like, what the fuck's going on? You are all lucky my English is too bad to explain chemicals to you. Really? Wait, do you study chemical stuff? They measure those angles with a very small protractor. Yeah, how do you think they got the point part of those degrees there? Sorry, that was a bad joke. Okay. Yeah, he did this shit. He turned styrofoam into cinnamon candy. I've never heard of cinnamon candy. That sounds disgusting. Making coffee from scratch is hard. I think he did a video where he took all the caffeine out of some beans or something. Or am I stupid? Turning cotton balls into cotton candy. Yeah, when he started doing edible shit. Turning plastic gloves into hot sauce. Oh my god, it's sponsored by Micro Center. Get that bag. It's just spicy candy, like red hot. Got you. Making uranium glass. Chupa is the European Walter White. Instead of living in, like, Arizona. What is the most Arizona place of the Europeans? I want to say Spain. Yeah, that's accurate. Wait, oh, he made the world's most expensive carbonated water. And then I watched this one, and then he said it just tastes like water. That was funny. I think, oh god, hold on. We're not gonna watch this shit because I'm bad at reacting. I'd be like, wow, that's so cool. And then he explains himself, and I'll be like, wow, I didn't know that. Wait, guys, what does this mean? Hold on. This is some of you guys. Pure stink. I love that. I had that shit 5 years, including anorganic, organic, analytic, physical chemistry, and stoichemistry. Oh my god, I remember stoichemistry. I remember saying the word a lot, being like, stoichemistry. I was really annoying to my friends, but they appreciated me. Oh god, oh fuck, this brings back trauma. Never mind, I remember why I hate it. It's like fractions, but with chemicals. Oh, it's the stupid mole thing? Conversion, it was like conversion, right? Yeah, so you do 1p NO3 to 2 Ki, and you calculate how that, like, makes the ratio. Oh god, I want to vomit. Portugal, Catalonia. I like that answer. You never heard of cinnamon candy? Those little hearts on Valentine's? I never have tried them. Get out of my head! You're right. Let's not look at this anymore, you guys. Let's leave. Bro, that shit was crack for my brain. I was really stupid when I did that. I remember I was like, that was the part where I was like, maybe I shouldn't take this next semester. Shout out to my friend for saving my GPA, although I ruined it all by myself. I like this more than combining chemicals. Oh god. What if for a stream we just learned stoic? Oh no, I don't want to do that. Not even as a joke. Pythagorean would be like, what are you doing? Eaton Man isn't here because he actually has like a job and a career he's working towards in an actual like medical field, aka EMT, med school. No, he did EMT, but he's not an EMT because he's in med school. I gotta keep this down in the viewer doxing sheet. Math too hard. I can't even 2 plus 2. I like that answer a lot. Get to play, Avi. I can't wait for the Gato gameplay. We're not doing Gato gameplay. Ready for this? First try. Oh god. Make it stop. I became a simple blue collar so I don't have to suffer from it no more. Oh my god, Pythagorean. You know what? I think that's pretty based of you, actually. That's so relatable, too. Wait, actually, Pythagorean, I don't know your mother tongue. What's your mother tongue so you can learn what the chemicals are in whatever it is? Like, what if you speak French and then you go like, okay, gold is, oh no, I know. Oh no, it's a French-sounding word. I don't want to say it. Piston rock? No, that sounds more German. I'm sorry. I'll stop. Avi, is AK on the doxing list? Oh, no, he isn't. French? Disgusting. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to accuse you of being French. Hold on. What's his most popular video? Wait, what's insanely bouncy? Making an atomic trampoline. That's funny as fuck. Mother tongue? Like Liana Flores? I don't know what you're referencing, but that's probably really funny. Le gold. I like that. Yeah, this is the one I was watching. Turning paint thinner into cherry soda. This guy is so scary. And also making transparent wood. This guy is weird. I can't believe the Epsom salt is mostly water. I think this is the one I watched. Making aerogel. Making my favorite liquid carcinogen. Alright, buddy. It's a song by her. Oh, got you. Didn't he turn his pee into something flavor? Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Prussian blue. My own blueprint. The dye in jeans edible. Making milk lactose free. There it is. Recreating the world's first test for diabetes. That's not the one you were talking about. Wait, there it is. Extracting urea from my own pee. Turning my own pee, into an artificial sweetener. And then that's it. That's all the videos he was able to milk out of. More like pee out. Kidding. Just go. Get it? Avi, what's your mother tongue? English. Spanish actually would be my mother's tongue, but my mother tongue myself is English. I'm sorry, I'm making such -2 jokes today. Milk out of his. Shut up! I regret reading. I regret learning how to read. Every single day I have to read something in chat that makes me go, what is wrong with you guys? And then I say something that makes me go, what is wrong with me? My meds aren't strong enough. I need something that will that will numb me. Okay, this is a serious thing and I shouldn't joke about it, but it's kind of insane that there's some people when they take meds, they're like, I don't become myself anymore. I'm like a zombie. And you know what? That's really sad. And like, rip in peace to you if that happens to you. But what are you trying and how do I get on it? Anyways, dissolving gold and mercury. Making french fries using soap. I'm like really interesting. I think he had a cooking video once where he actually made like just cookies. Nothing fancy, nothing like out of some sort of material. It was just cookies. I think it was Nile Red 2 or vape. Oh no, this is worse. I'm seeing more feces and oh god. Why is he holding it? Bro making the FMA live real. He really is. He's crazy. You live in the US. I'm sure you got better context than most chatters here. Oh god. I gotta stop making these jokes. Oh my god, he broke into Polaroid? I broke into Polaroid and committed corporate espionage. Me. What really happened at Polaroid? Liar! Oh god, why is he in the toilet? What's wrong with this man? I think the funny thing about this guy is that he doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. We're the weird ones for being scared of science and stuff. And you know what? He's so right for that. Maybe. Okay, he has 3 different channels. This is kind of insane. Hold on. This is the one where he, like, made cookies, I think. Nope, it wasn't this one. Maybe it was the other channel I just put. He did make an apple that tasted like a grape, and I remember that he talked about how it was discontinued because it used pesticide. New Nile Red video, how I turned this bumblebee into a Mexican honey wasp. Oh god, the day that he decides to get into genetic chemistry, it's over for us. It's over for us. He's gonna create a new brand of Nile Red. Where's the video where he did something with a cookie? Okay, every time I see something yellow in his YouTube channel, I get scared that it's gonna be something about pee. Though Emporium does that shit. Does what? Oh god, which one? Hold on. Nile Red cookie. Yeah, there it is. He made the world's purest cookie. Oh my god, debunked? He's a liar? Oh wait, no, he's just saying what went wrong with his cookie. Genetical science. Wait, who's Emporium? He's just gonna make a little Nile whose skin is all red. Wait, no, his name is Neil. Duh, that's why his channel is called Nile Red. Nile Red creates 3 clones of an infamous defense contractor and terror. Oh god, no! No! Okay, good thing I didn't show this word. It's showing my address right now. I googled something real quick. There you go. Yeah, he made the world's purest cookie. And then he was talking about how, like, he was really scared because baking is scary. Have any of you guys baked before? He's a fucking phony! Now, we haven't watched that video, and we don't know what she said about this exactly. Although, I think if I were to react to any video, it would be the How to Cook That series, channel. Because I've seen some video. His flour for the cookie was 20 years old. What? Is my goat washed? I did once. It was a lot of work. Yeah, I heard that baking is really hard. Why are you always on the verge of doxing yourself? Hopper, I dare you to, like, Google anything. And if you do that, it automatically gives you results for term near me, even if I don't Google that. Literally just anything. If I Google yogurt, mostly food-based, it shows my location. If I do something like flower bouquet, If I do something like a simple definition of what Emporium means, boom. Get an ad blocker. It's not an ad it's not an ad problem. It's a Google Maps problem. It's a Google result problem. I'm always in the kitchen whipping it up like it's stir fry. And by whipping it, you mean you're, It's less of a debunk, but more of a, if you've never cooked in your life, then these are not obvious. Yeah, I figured because, I think Nile Blue said something about, like, cooking and how he didn't really do that. And it did not look like that man is baked in his life. It is funny. Have you heard of Flex Air 5? Dude, if I Google Flex Air 5, I guarantee you my location will be showed somehow. Emporium's near you. I bake when I can, not as much as I'd want to. Oh, that's okay. That's how I feel about my crochet stuff. I'm like, I want to crochet more stuff, but it hurts my elbows and my wrist after doing it for a couple hours straight. No stretches because I'm neurotic. Yeah. I bake better than I cook, which isn't hard. That is so funny because I hear people say the opposite, where they cook better than they bake. There was like a Tumblr post that was like, do not have any fear on you when you bake because the dough does smell fear. Something silly like that. Oh my god, that's so cute. Does it show my account? No, it doesn't. Drugs. Hold on. Drugs website. Okay. Okay. Never mind. I can't find it on Tumblr. What was I gonna say? At any moment, we could find out Avi really lives in the Bronx. Oh god, do I look like I'm anywhere in East Coast? People that are from the East Coast are so funny. They're fascinating to me. It's a whole different culture and we're in the same country. We're miles and miles away. Wait, actually, how many miles away is Los Angeles from New York? Just like a baseline. 40. Okay, so if I were to walk from Los Angeles to New York, how many? Okay, I would show this to you guys, but it might do it silly, so I'm not gonna do that. Oh god, I broke the website. There are no routes that avoids tolls. What does tolls mean? It says it'll take me 41 hours if I were to drive there. 2,789.1 miles via the I-80W. I picked a focaccia the other day. I'm gonna Google that. That sounds really, really cool. Bread. A flat leavened oven baked Italian bread. Oh, it's similar to flatbread. That's so fancy. All these things. I baked tea yesterday. Funny joke. A bit undercooked, but next time will be better. I believe in you, Zepter. Can you send pictures as well when you do? I think if I prep enough, I can make almost anything basic. At least I don't burn my eggs on a skillet. Okay, shut up, bro. Shut up. We don't talk about that. Hello, Kyle. We're talking about, cooking and baking. But that's good, Hopper. I'm glad you have a basic necessity of a skill. Fairly clearly an East Coast accent. Yeah, bro. And from the East Coast, where we have bodegas and, we have Hololive conventions here because we fucking hate the Pacific Coast. Even though Japan is closer to California than it is in Boston, we go to Boston anyway. Sorry, I hate them. Bodega Rat mentioned. I knew someone was gonna bring that up. I burnt my pot of water only 6 times for real. Me when I don't let my fucking water go into boiling mode. Sorry, hold on. Do you guys... No, sorry, that was an incorrect other way. Is it possible to burn water, actually? Hold on. Is it possible to burn water? I'm going on Google today a lot. You can't burn pure water, which is why we use it to put out fires instead of starting them. Alright, Google, no need to get sassy on me. BBC Science Focus magazine. Cali is like as far from New York as Britain is from Russia. That's crazy. That is insane to me. Thank you, Lynn, for this fun fact. There's literally like a 40-day trip by foot. Only 40 days, you say? It's paying money for crossing checkpoints. Ugh, that's not fun. I hate that. Tolls are a red state thing. Ugh, of course they are. To put that in perspective, Paris to Berlin. Okay, where's Berlin? It's 655 miles away. Berlin. Berlin is like Germany. Yeah, the capital of Germany. I'm sorry, Toop. I'm having an American moment, even though you're also American. Are you? Yeah, I was thinking of Fog. Yeah, I was thinking of Frog. Miles? How far is that in non-freedom units? And that's gonna be like... Oh god, that's a lot of kilometers. I felt like a real cool baker. Oh, you deserve that. At least I don't cook raw salmon. Alright, buddy, I'd like to see you cook salmon in a air fryer. And then the Midwest accent basically has me having me sound diet Canadian. Oh yeah, the Midwest accent, huh? That's the one people talk about with that one VTuber, Narissa, right? No. I posted some pics in general. I love that. There's a bodega in my town. Fuck yeah. Cannot post them on food. I don't know why. Damn Discord. No, it's not you. We used to archive that. Evaporation. This is true. This does happen to water. No wonder we can't burn it. I mean, we can, and then it... Okay, alright, Damon. You're correct on that one. Avi could char water. Sorry, your fucking water got burnt, and there's like charcoal in there for some reason. Yeah, if you boil out the water, you get the minerals left behind, which then can be burnt for real. God, I think I need to take a science class again. Berlin is in Germany. Okay, I was right. I can cook salmon in a dishwasher. I'm gonna Google that. Some crazy person has done. Can you really cook salmon in a dishwasher? Salmon in a dishwasher? It sounds way too good to be true. And to be honest, a bit scary of a scary endeavor, but I gave it the world to see what this unconventional method of cooking was all about. Let me scroll down. You're putting foil in that. Oh god. Oh my god! Wait, it actually was cooked! Wait, you have a dishwasher in your house, Damon? Wait, what? There's a hella Midwest VTuber? No. I mean, there probably is, actually. There probably is. Calcium and magnesium makes water go hard. Why? Why does it do that, Pythagorean? Is the Midwest accent the don't you know one? I wouldn't know. Do I look like I'm educated in English? In American English? There's a whole degree for that for a reason. Meow. Me when I accidentally dunk every alkaline metal into the small water container. Okay, you guys are so smart saying the word alkaline. All right, brothers. Brothers? I don't know why I call you guys brothers now. I think my Oshi said I want you to like, brother, do you think? And then like the rest of the sentence. And it's so funny to me. He's a cowboy in my heart. Maybe if you had a dishwasher, you can get some bitches. Alright, first it's the fucking air fryer, which is able to be bought at a reasonable price. Now it's fucking dishwashers. Alright. Alright, buddy. You know what? Maybe I would have been able to dishwash my goddamn salmon better than I did in air fryer. Oh, brother, this guy stinks. Oh, yeah, you betcha. Ugh, I couldn't do that because my lips are kind of dry. Well, if you can cook a chicken by slapping it, I don't imagine the hot water in a dishwasher won't do the trick as well. That's... God. That would be such a waste of water, though. Like, that's so much. But the fact that you can do it is really funny. Wait, Damon, do you actually have a dishwasher? I'm more impressed by that. My mom... I already told you guys the story, but I'll say it again. My mom is, like, a cleaning lady, and I was like, Mother... And I asked her, Mother, how do you feel about dishwashers? I think that would be really useful in our house. And my mother, bless her heart, always goes, well, I clean houses for a living and I've seen many dishwashers. They don't do jack shit. She doesn't say those words. They don't do anything. Might as well clean them by hand. But it's kind of like the opposite of this. It's kind of like survivorship bias or some sort of bias name that I'm too stupid to remember right now, where they're calling a cleaning lady because they don't know how to do cleaning or they're too busy to do that. So you're kind of seeing a kind of bias where people who do know how to use the dishwashers right wouldn't call a maid to clean the house. Therefore, you have an incorrect logical fallacy, mother. Everyone tells me that they actually do work, and I'm like really, really surprised. I would love to see a dishwasher. I have my weird thing, kind of like how Becco has her weird thing, but the other way around. Becco wants to milk a cow and go to a farm and see farm life. I want to see how a dishwasher functions. I want to know how an air fryer works, and I want to what's the other thing? What's another cool thing? I already have a washer and dryer. There's a third thing I don't know yet. Boy, do I have a YouTube channel for you. You're so funny, Damon. I can say anything and you're like, I got a YouTube channel for that, or here's something related to this, or something really funny. And actually, RV's mother. Exactly. Oh my god, you know what? I want to know how RV living is like. Like for a week. Scent. Okay. Toaster oven? I do have a toaster oven actually. Discord. Fuck. Discord. We had a toaster oven for a while. No, we had a microwave oven. My bad. Wait, toaster oven? I have yet to meet one that uses it to wash. Oh god. Wait, hold on. Wait. For the last decades of my life, I have always asked my Latino acquaintances if they have one in their house. Do they use it to wash, or is it just a big drying rack? I have yet to meet one that uses it to wash. That's so funny, KK. Because, oh my god, wait. And also, we put freaking dishes in the oven as well. I feel like everyone does that. Your dishwasher is better than you think. Wait, Technology Connections. Isn't this the guy that... Yeah, it's this guy. I watched this guy. Yeah. This guy. I watched his videos on humidifier. I don't remember anything of what he said. I also watched other videos too. Oh, the thermoelectric cooling. I didn't finish that though. I fell asleep. Yeah, he was the one that Oh yeah, I want to use an electric kettle. Oh shit, let me put an electric kettle in my throne. Technology Connections yapping about nothing for an hour. He's not yapping about nothing. What are you talking about now, you? He yaps about so many things. Oh yeah, and I also watched his video on like what do you call it? Fire alarms, right? Did he make a video about that? He shows you the inside of a dishwasher while it runs. Now this is a channel I can react to. His videos are super interesting. I love his videos so much. I love his sass. Smoke alarms, yeah, smoke alarms. Air fryer is just a convection oven. It has a heating coil in top and blows exhaust air to cook the food, but the air also carries the moisture, so it makes things crispier, but it can also make them dry. That's interesting, Kyle. I did kind of had an idea of the science towards air fryer about the coil and the exhaust, but I didn't know that it could possibly make it dry because it carries out the moisture. Huh. Sad that electric kettles in the US are bad compared to the ones in the UK. That's what I'm saying! I'm like, okay, I'll give the British one thing, is that they have electric kettles, and we are so behind on that science for no reason at all. Just have better power! You're so mean to us! Okay, anyways, what was I gonna say? Wait, how are they bad? I must know this. I love making tea. I just assumed they're bad just because no way do we have a really cool... Oh, actually, Tube, explain. I don't use an electric kettle. Yeah, that's what Tech Connections told me. Yeah, they lack power. Yeah, there you go. That's one of the things he said. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. He did say something about power. Okay, I'm getting distracted. I do want to watch a dishwashing video. I want to watch the dishwashing video. I'm fascinated. I want to see how dishwashing works. Yes, literally twice this time. Us motherfuckers only have half a face. What do you mean by that? Not you. Since voltage is half. Oh. Huh, interesting. I gotta give me a British one. Oh my god. No, Paris, don't do it. You're gonna do some sort of shortage in your house. It's because we use 100. Oh yeah! We use 120 volts power in the US instead of the 220 volts in the UK. So it can heat the water up faster because it pulls more juice / electricity faster. Ooh. I love being American and finding out some really cool things about other countries, and we're like, why don't we have that, huh? It's like being a child and like tugging at the shirt of like your local congressman and be like, why can't we have that? And they're like, oh, you silly American. That's what communists do. Oh, God. And I'm just like, oh, maybe I do want to be a communist, okay? Damn, it's true. You say anything and they go, but back in the 1960s. And it's like, okay. Okay, buddy. I think my favorite thing, though, is like when there's like an old guy online, like in a TikTok, that someone's like, look at this old grandpa and how he fell for AI for the 5th time this week. Everyone in the comments always makes a joke of, quick, someone send him to the Congress. Someone send him to Congress or something like that. Hire him for Congress. There you go. Comrade Avi. Hassan Ark Avi. No. Going from Kami Oshi to Kami Oshi. Hell yeah, brother. I mean, brothers. Why do you think I say that so much? My brothers in arms. Comrade Avi 07. This is not going to be my communist arc. I don't know shit enough about economics to understand it. If I try to read Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto, my ass will be sleeping. Unless it's Lenin. Wait, did Lenin write something about Hold on. No, Lenin wrote about like socialism. Enough! Enough! Cease! Oh god. Hold on. For one, we have 60 hertz, but my tea takes longer to make. Yeah, America is still behind on that. The only way we can get water that will be acceptable for tea is one of those water cooler things. Do you know what I mean? Okay, let me go to images. Yeah, the only way Americans can get hot water for tea fast is if we get these things. Which cost like, oh, this one costs $50. This one costs $300. Yo, not gonna lie, I do want to go to Russia one day to buy a USSR era teaware. Teaware! I didn't know this is a phrase I need to hear. I'm gonna Google that. Me when the Communist Manifesto doesn't have pictures. Wait, there could be a market for that, AK. You're kind of cooking. Reminds me of how there's like children's book talking about like historical moments in the modern day. But for kids! Like, do you guys remember that quantum mechanics book for babies? If any of you guys are in the STEM field and don't know what to do with your degree, here is a grift I got for you. Sell the idea to parents that your child, yes, your child is able to participate in the STEM field by giving them fucking quantum physics for babies. What does it talk about? Protons and electrons. Your baby can't even understand that when mommy leaves the room, she's still alive and didn't disappear from existence. So you should tell them about protons, electrons, and neutrons, and about no electrons with zero energy and quantized, whatever the fuck that means. Didn't you hate communism? How do you know it's basic lore? Funny enough, actually in my English class, I don't know if you Americans also had to do this. Animal Farm is required reading in like 12th grade, so like my final 11th grade. I'm pretty sure other people did this, and like there's a reason why people keep saying this is literally 1984. Is because it was required reading for some of us. Peekaboo, it's quantum mechanics for babies. There's a quant for what for babies? Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you about Kiwi and I figured out the issue when I got to buy a print. Fuck yeah, Hopper! I'm glad. Oh my god, I'm an artist. Any science nerds let's collab and make a science baby book. Yeah, exactly, Pears. You guys can make millions, and I mean millions, off of Harvard babies. Why are you not having drinkable tap water? Is the USA a third world country? So true, Pythagorean. My water is kind of, ooh. Oh my god. All balls are made of atoms. Oh, they're talking about like a ball. That's so funny. Quantum Mechanics for Babies by Chris Ferry. No, this is a different book. Wait. There's a whole collection. General Relativity for Babies. Newton's Physics for Babies. Rocket Science for Babies. You guys can make millions off of this, I'm telling you. Me letting my newborn that I will never be able to hold them because... me letting my newborn know that I will never be able to hold them because our electrons are repelling each other. Oh my god, that's so funny. Oh, they could also have it for other languages too. This would actually be a really funny idea to teach yourself Japanese. Oh my god, wait, someone reviewed this. Okay, new grift, you review these books. Just kidding, that's not a grift. How can I make millions if the books are already written? Well, you do another one, but better. You do, this is all physics. Oh shit, never mind. He's got the whole field. Hold on. Okay, you can make millions by making it even stupider. Hold on. I'm trying to open the image in a new tab, but it won't let me. Shit, man. He's already... Okay, yeah, good thing I didn't open it. Hello, real name and address. Please, let me show this. I don't want to dox myself. Please, open image in new tab. Please, it's not that serious. Oh my god, Amazon, please. Alright, fuck you then. Let me close that tab first. Okay, no, it's not gonna let me. Special relativity for Avi! Oh god. Not for me. How do I kill you? No, I don't want to kill you. I want you alive. I need you alive. That sounds even more menacing. There it is. Okay, we can't show the picture, but there is like a list of titles. Let me just not press any of them. Otherwise, you guys might... Just kidding. The full book list. Quantum Physics for Babies. Newtonian Physics for Babies. General Relativity for Babies. Rocket Science for Babies. Quantum Entanglement for Babies. Optical Physics for Babies. Statistical Physics for Babies. Electromagnetism for babies, quantum information for babies, quantum computing for babies, nuclear physics for babies, evolution for evolution? Organic chemistry. Wait, guys, we might need to check this one out. Astrophysics for baby. Blockchain for baby? Shit, they got the whole 9 yards. At this point, the 4 babies is implied. No, I'm still gonna read it out. By blockchain for babies, robotics for baby, neural networks for babies. Wait, the fucking VTuber joke you were making earlier. My bad, Damon. I didn't read that. Math theory for toddlers, volume 2. Yeah, you can start making shit for toddlers. Duh, you guys aren't thinking hard enough. You guys aren't the good grifters that I want my grubbies to be. My baby is becoming a crypto bro. Oh god. And then he's all like, Mother, we must invest. Oh, you know how people keep saying, like, duh, I didn't know I was supposed to buy a house for property value instead of being 6 years old? That, but unironically for this fucking book. Germ Theory for VTubers, Chapter 1. Take a bath every day. And good thing that's a theory, though, Damon, so I don't actually have to do that. Neural network for babies. Bayesian probability. Climate change for babies? Alright, I didn't know this was for woke babies. Oh my god, pandemics too. Oh, there's the germ theory. Pythagorean theorem for... Wait, hold on, I kind of want to see that one. Evaporating a random civilian and turning them into a 0.32 Bitcoin. We love that. Wink for babies. I'm not gonna wink for... Wink. Wink. Woke babies! They're making the infants woke. The propaganda starts early. Next, we'll have vaccines for babies. Don't even joke, lad. That's such a sick idea, too. What the hell? Calculus for babies. Artificial intelligence for babies. Actually, I do want to check out the calculus. What was the other one? Evolution. What was it? Calculus. Oh yeah, organic chemistry for babies. And Pythagorean theorem. Do I want to buy these? No, I shouldn't. I shouldn't even joke, lad. Avi, you are a Hispanic bisexual wasp woman. You are somehow the most woke person I know. That one friend that is too woke. And I'm only having my powers too rogue. In actuality, I have very interesting theories about the economics. Just kidding. I fucking don't. That is saying a lot. Ew, woke. First they teach us sharing is caring, and now this. Communists want to create the golden rule. Okay, ads. We got ads right now. Let's stop and stretch. I'm sure you could pirate them. That's true. Baby University. God, I fucking love this script. It's so stupid. It is so stupid. PDF. Script, you got me? Oh my god, yes! 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 Someone pirated it. Yes! Oh my god, I love you, Script. This is the website that I use also for my knitting, crocheting, so this is extremely funny. Hold on. I need, organic chemistry. Come on, someone's gotta pirate it. Yes! Okay, but, okay, hold on. Being a boss for babies. Pixar, write that down! Wait, they can actually do a parody of that. Grit's the power of passion and perseverance. me. Sorry. What am I falling for? They're already replacing my white girls in the VTuber universe so we can generate more promotion to the comp with rage baiting. What is this sentence? White women become wasp women. A 3-year-old will have more competence and qualifications than me. That's right, they're starting early. Barney, the Soviet dinosaur, is pleased by this development. I feel like you're referencing something, and that terrifies me. Terrifies me that I didn't make that joke first, or that grift first. You know what? What if we spend an entire stream becoming a really bad salesman? And by salesman, I mean by bad, I mean the good. The good salesman. You see, Albie? We have to start to kick some babies ASAP. You're right, they're becoming stronger. This is like taking candy from a baby, which is fine by me. Wait, why did you make Avi quote that? I would never do that. Any babies watching, don't listen to him. He's crazy. I'm there for your education. I'm creating freaking textbooks for you. Okay, hold on. Wait, oh my god, you're technically white because you're wasp. Yeah, I didn't realize that wasp was a phrase for white Anglo-Saxon person. And I realized how much more funnier it would be if I was a white woman. But also, I think I would attract some weirdos, so maybe not. Why would babies be watching you? That's true. Put that in the tag. What, white Anglo-Saxon? I'm down. With Latina, that's funny. Hold on, I can do that right now. I can actually do that right now. Hold on. I can actually do that right now. Hold on. Sorry. I talk really nice and happy because I love streaming. But if you guys were to see me IRL, in an ordinary environment, I talk kind of I sound sad. So sometimes when I talk on stream, I'm like, no, I gotta say it again, but happy. Because because you guys are awesome sauce. Me, if Avi was white, I'm leaving to get Wonder. What the fuck? Avi, face reveal. I promise you guys I'm not white. Emo wasp. I'm not emo. The angle part is real in the wasp. That's true. Talking to women for obvious. Shut up. Wait, what if we do the pickup line? Pickup artist script for babies. White Anglo-Saxon. Oh, that's not an existing tag. That is really bad. Pickup artist. There you go. Thank you. Off Kai is gonna give us whiplash. You're gonna be a sad meet and greet. No, I'll be very happy because actually conventions is really fun. But I was saying, that's why I was saying if you saw me in a normal environment. Conventions aren't normal. Conventions bring something out in me. It's okay, Abby. I don't talk at all in my everyday life. Yeah, before streaming, I didn't really talk that much, which is really, like, interesting. Not in high school, especially. An introduction to negging. Oh, God. How to e-beg online for babies. The beast does Becco puss it. Oh, God, yeah. So Avi is a sad barista. Yeah, I'm not making all the tips. Actually, you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm getting tips because I have braces, and they're like, "Oh, baby is working here. Here's the extra $1, pal." But as soon as the braces are gone, I have nothing. Me after meeting the wasp. No, you guys, no. You guys are making it sound like I'm gonna eject like sad radars to you guys. You mean Avi is a character? No, I'm real. I'm real. I have split hair and I'm a cute girl and I don't age and I don't wrinkle and I don't smell and and I'm very tall. I'm mostly leg. I'm not mostly leg. I wish I was mostly leg. I'm not mostly leg. I look like a very out of proportion creature. You're gonna infect us with the stink. No, I won't.
You need to walk.
Oh my god, who fucking did this? Maglanky. Me after not meeting the wasp this year. 80% legs. You have like 6 legs. And actually, actually. Oh, shit. Let me show you this first. Organic chemistry for babies. So, this is perfect for you guys. This is a ball. The ball can stick to 2 other balls. This ball can stick to 3 other balls. And this ball can... Okay, let's wait like 2 seconds. And this ball can stick to 4 others. Are you guys getting this? Each type of ball can stick to a certain number of other balls. Wait. This ball can stick to 2 others, 3 and 4. So each type can stick to a certain number of other balls. And don't laugh because we're saying balls, okay? You're supposed to be more mature than actual babies. The ball can stick to 2 other balls is a problem I haven't had in a while. Oh god. Haha, balls! Oh my god, my bad. You guys are worse than children. I hate it when I'm gonna kill you guys. Imagine all the shapes we can make just by combining these balls. Balls, I can't. I'm gonna grab you guys. I'm gonna grab you guys and I'm gonna detonate you guys. You wouldn't get it. Shut up! And you know what? I'm glad I don't get it. These balls are like atoms. Atoms make up everything. Each type of atom can stick to a certain number of other atoms. Wait, so is this the atom or is this the atom? He ate. This is the carbon atom. It is very special. It can stick to... We can wait for 10 seconds. Adam? I thought this was science, not religion. I was gonna say sorry for making this woke, but then I realized I'm in an Anglo society. That isn't woke at all. These are not balls, but spears. Oh, it looks like someone is we found the nerd that would go, don't forget plasma when talking about all the elements. I mean, all the thingy when it turns to solid, liquid, and gas. What do you call that? I don't know, you're the nerd, not me. That was me unironically. That's so funny. How do we know they're balls? The state of matter. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. I need to go back to school. I need to go back to science school. Parasocial moment has been added. What does that look like? David, Nayu, can you type that out now? Have you actually measured them? Have you touched them? And yeah, some nerd did back then. What the hell is that? Dude, I used to know shouldn't be smart. I actually lost brain matter after the wage cage. Real. That does something to you. Obviously, I'm not woke. Otherwise, how would I get my 8 hours of recommended sleep? I love that. I'm subbed. Why am I getting ads? So true, Tube. Okay, back to... guys, we're already losing track of organic chemistry. I said I would play a game. Plasma is a state of matter for real. God, I need to Google plasma. I used to be big brain, then I watched Dobby. You can't touch me because then the magnetic fields repel each other. Hexagons, where? This is the carbon atom. It is very special. It can stick to 4 other atoms, and it sticks very well. It makes methanol, diamethylene, and methanol. I can't read it. This is pixels. It likes to make big shapes. These shapes are called organic molecules. So this translates to methanol. Maybe there are squares or triangles or hexagons.